Hey folks, everything new under the sun. Well, I'm officially using my built-in microphone. Unfortunately, my external microphone is done for, like I mentioned in the prior video there. And so unfortunately, the sound's going to be lousy until I get a replacement for that. So on to the news here. This is debka.com. Bit of an update for Iran, Israel, and the war that is going on there. And it's changing. So the recent news over the last couple of months was that Iran would have enough enriched uranium for one nuclear weapon, basically within a couple of weeks, and that was a month ago. They spoke of that. So they're very, very close, but they haven't used anything yet, obviously. And they're kind of biding their time, and I think Israel's kind of probably doing something covertly as well. We just haven't heard of it yet in Iran. Well, another front to that war is more conventional weapons, conventional yet unconventional, and it's the idea of the Iran's kamikaze drones. No, now you've heard of the flying Dorito in Ukraine, and Iran has been selling that, and also munitions, 300,000 rounds, I believe it is, to Russia to use in Ukraine. And so Iran is making a lot of money now from Russia for weaponry and drones and advancing their own drone technology. And it's to the point where now apparently Israel has lost its air superiority, and that includes Israel and the United States, which is interesting. And we'll find out why in a second. U.S. General McKenzie, Israel and U.S. have lost their Air Force edge to Iran's kamikaze drones. So these things are, relatively cheap and easy to produce. They can send, a vast horde of them into the air to cause a lot of trouble with Israeli air defense systems. And with them, as they're so small, maneuverable, and cheap, they can fly below the radar in some cases and evade radar and take out air defense radar systems so they can get larger airplanes, larger ICBMs, missiles, etc. there. So this may be the missing piece of their war with Israel, something to take out the air defenses. Israel has some of the best air defenses, including laser weapons and Iron Dome for taking out rockets, and that would certainly take out any rocket shot by Iran. Well, if Iran's plan then would likely be to take out those air defenses and the digital eyes, the radar systems, by way of a swarm of drones first, similar to what you might see, similar to what you see in that image, and then launch the more conventional ICBMs or missiles with nuclear warheads. So I think that's part of Iran's strategy. They've been building up for it, and now they have fresh influx of money from Russia and the Ukraine war and selling lots of munitions and aircraft to them. It says within a decade, Iran has managed to wipe out the regional air superiority Israel and the United States long enjoyed. So this is really a turning point in the technological playing field there. No longer is Iran stuck in the past and doesn't have the tools it would need to deal with Israel's air defense systems and United States technology. If they build enough drones, they can basically send a swarm in. It says, in the general's view, the danger these forces represent to the country in the Middle East does not fall short of a nuclear threat, and may even surpass a nuclear threat, which is interesting, since there are limits to the use of nuclear weapons, but not drones. So they can continue to go with drones. The world's not going to go after them if they use drones against Israel. The thing is, you use a nuclear weapon, and the whole world's going to come against you. No one's going to like you. But if you keep hitting Israel with drones, and cheap drones at that, and getting past air defenses, well, most of the world's going to, turn a blind eye to this. It says, in the event of war, the general said Iran can use its drones to wipe out parts of the adversary's radar, thereby disarming its air defenses. This would clear the way to follow up with a ballistic missile offensive and maybe a nuclear offensive. So Iran basically has all the tools, all the weapons it needs now to do a devastating strike on Israel. So look out, folks. I think they have everything they need. They have the enriched uranium. They now have a way to clear out the air defenses to clear the way for nuclear weapons. Over to Ukraine. Wars and rumors of wars. Remember, Matthew 24 states that there will be wars, rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdoms. And so we're talking about these major wars. And we're not even going to talk about China, Taiwan tonight, or South Korea, North Korea. Those are all ongoing. We're not going to talk about Sudan tonight. That is ongoing. And part of the Wagner forces are in Sudan. And the whole bioweapon locations that are there. This is what the Wagner group says is going to happen in Ukraine. They're going to start their counteroffensive next week. So it is the end of April going into May. And what they were waiting for is for the ground to harden. Now, why is that significant? Well, not only for their tanks, but also for the M1A2 Abrams tank, which is very, very heavy. In my understanding, it is a lot heavier than the other tanks they're using there. So they need the ground to be hard to go in with the heavy weaponry. So there's going to be an uptick in the fighting in this next week. So this is the timeline. Remember, the Abrams main battle tank was in Germany to train Ukrainian forces. And I said, well, that timeline, it was 12 weeks out. But, that timeline's probably half of that because they're not going to give their intelligence and they're going to strike before the time is up there in order to get ahead of the enemies. Well, come to find out, it's well advanced, and the first week of May may indeed be when they deploy not only the Leopard tanks, but the Abram tanks, and a large part of that, again, is because the ground is hardening. The head of Russia's Wagner group said Ukraine's counteroffensive will likely start after May 2nd, and as he warned his mercenary fighters do not have enough ammunition. Prigozhin said Wednesday in an audio message posted on Telegram that the Ukrainian... whoops, sorry, he's still there. Okay, I think my computer locked up for a second. Prigozhin said Wednesday in an audio message posted to a Telegram app that Ukrainian counterattacks were inevitable and that Kiev is sending well-trained units. Are these units, armored tank units that were trained in Germany? Well-trained units into the besieged city of Bakhmut, where bloody battles have raged for months. And so why are they going there? Well, again, Ukrainian troops will start attacking next month, he says, when the weather improves and the ground hardens. Again, so the idea that suggests is that they're going in with heavy-duty tanks, and not only that, but not Russian tanks or old Soviet Union tanks, but the modern Abrams main battle tank and the Leopard tanks. This is Al Jazeera. The last article was Al Jazeera. This is Al Jazeera as well. China-Ukraine war update, so you can go to aljazeera.com. But the U.S. says, and this further really confirms that Ukraine may indeed have Abrams tanks on the ground with trained Ukrainian drivers and soldiers in them. Ukraine to get more arms in time for the counteroffensive, says a U.S. general. The top United States general in Europe, Cavoli, said Ukraine's military will get the weapons it needs in time for its upcoming counteroffensive, which, again, a Wagner Group lead was saying is going to happen basically first week of May. That is, next week, effectively. I am very confident that we will have delivered the material that they'll need and will continue a pipeline to sustain their operations. So they're not stopping the war. They're encouraging it, and they're certainly continuing to keep it going. So interesting. Now, recently, Zelensky did have a call with Chinese President Xi, and they were talking about, how to come to a ceasefire, how to come up with peace. Well, here's the outcome. Zelensky says that during an hour-long call with Xi Jinping, he discussed possible cooperation to reach fair and sustainable peace deal for Ukraine, but stressed there could be no peace at the extent of territorial compromises. Territorial integrity of Ukraine must be restored within the 1991 borders, he said. And I don't think Xi, agreed with them. Certainly, I don't think anything came out of this that I've heard of yet. So there you go. There's an update. I think China tried to create peace. The one country in the mix that's trying to talk peace. The United States has no interest in peace because they're making a lot of money off munitions and Ukraine owing them a lot of money. The U.S. is making a lot of money from selling gas, natural gas, oil to Europe. The United States is making hand over foot, money hand over foot, and lots of it. So there's no interest for the United States to stop this war. As long as U.S. citizens aren't being killed, U.S. soldiers, the citizenry of the U.S. Won't be protesting it, and therefore the leaders can continue this. And so there's no interest in peace at all that I see from, I was going to say Western nations, certainly from the U.S. and the main Western nations. There are some nations, however, that are starting to say, you know what, we don't want to be part of this. We don't want to be included in this. One of those was France, who went to China and basically tried to make a deal with China and say, maybe get on China's better side so that when these things go down and should the U.S. go under, that France has a new friend in China and can keep going economically. So there's updates on at least two of the nations or kingdoms that are battling each other, and many more on the table, folks. So be prepared. Everything is lined up. All the stage is set for significant battles, and it will be a miracle if we don't go into World War III in some way, shape, or form this year. I think we'll have massive cyber attacks. I don't think this year gets any better in terms of the economy or war. And indeed, you look at U.S. banks, and they're having trouble. And the contagion is growing again. There's an upheaval in the media. Tucker Carlson, almost as if maybe the U.S. government or the big players there are clearing the stage, if you will, so that there can be one single narrative when World War III does start. They don't want anybody. They don't want to hear any dissenting opinions. Not like what's happening during COVID, right? They don't want anybody disagreeing with the government during war, and that's kind of a common thing. If you go study your history, propaganda on both sides, good sides, bad sides, and in fact, the government comes down hard on any dissenting views because they want to keep the citizens all together fighting the same cause. So I hope you know Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. If you don't know Him, you need to get to know Him today so that you're saved. Because we don't know if we're going to die today, tomorrow, or the next day, or in 10 years. But I think Bible prophecy is occurring before our eyes, and the time is short. Thanks for watching, and thanks for putting up with the audio, and we'll see you in the next video.